Hello, it's us again. It's Cedric and Cedra, and we are doing the CR Wrestling commentary. This one is about David Benoit wanting to wrestle as Chris Benoit Jr. This came to me while listening to Jim Cornette's Drive-Thru, when Brian Lash brought up that David Benoit wanted to wrestle as Chris Benoit Jr. It was a letter from him, and he was wanting to know if it's the best thing to do, and he didn't go into the minutia of why and what it meant to him. But I would say this. My first thought was, yeah, do it. That was mine. Jim Cornette said, no, don't do it. And Jim Cornette's reasoning is because of everything behind Chris Benoit, the murder and suicide thing that happened. And this is also a case of stupid people holding back potentially great people. Chris Benoit is not a controversy. It's not. And if people actually knew anything beyond what they think everyone else think, then they would do just a little bit of research on CTE, which is what Benoit had. And in those final days, Benoit going through what he went through before the murder-suicide, when you think about it, Benoit might not have actually been Benoit for maybe 5 to 10 years. Potentially even longer. People with CTE can function decently, and most people won't even notice too much. But everything has a breaking point. Benoit's was found. Because it was found, it was too late. The only other thing I could buy into that was Benoit and his family were actually murdered by an outside force. I'm not going to go into detail on that at all, but it also can make sense. At the same time, this is not Benoit. This is his son. This is David Benoit, and he wants to carry the mantle like Brian Pillman Jr., like Davey Boy Smith Jr. You know, that's what he wants. Yes, the legacy of his father, personally, socially, is tainted, but it's unjustifiably tainted. It's just emotional stupidity, nothing more or less. When it comes to what anyone should remember about Chris Benoit, it's what he did in the ring. It's how he was in the ring. His persona, his style, his moveset. And granted, it's going to be hard to do anything about Chris Benoit without linking it to the CTE death. At the same time, his legacy as a pro wrestler is stellar and is top notch. And that's what I think about, because it doesn't matter to me how he is outside the ring. It doesn't matter. There are lots of wrestlers today that when you think about who they are outside the ring, you should not watch them in the ring. Some are extremely xenophobic, racist, hateful of any and everything. Go out of their way to help ruin the business. Go out of the way to ruin other wrestlers from even getting a good shot within the business. Lots of these people do a lot of things to hurt others around them, even themselves, so long as it hurts somebody else. But everyone seems to be all right with them. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. He wants to carry his father's mantle. He wants to carry that name and probably rekindle a legacy lost under a lot of wrongful scrutiny. And to keep him from doing that, I think that is a miscarriage of justice. Jim Cornette spoke about what carrying that name will do, that nobody would hire him or anything like that. That's also the problem. we're not going to let you in our company because of everything surrounding Chris Benoit. Therefore, we don't want you here under that name. Nothing changes if you don't force it to change. And if you cave in to everyone's desires, you get crappy decisions, just like crappy promotions. You have to stand up. If they don't want you, someone will. And if no one wants you, you start your own.
I think that he should approach it differently. And this lends a lot to the way that you and I approach stuff. You go to the door with a sledgehammer. I'm coming in. Whereas I'm going to come in the door, I'm all cool, yeah, it's all right. And then, once I'm in there, that's what he should do. He should get in somewhere and hone his craft. If he hasn't honed it already, hone his craft. Show exactly what he can do under a different name. I would go so far as to be fucking masked.
Okay. That's what Jim Cornette said.
That's what I would
He talked about pro NFL players that would wrestle for extra money under a mask and obviously a different name. And he said that David Benoit should do that. Not even use the Benoit name, let alone Junior. Just be some other name, get his stuff going so he can have some kind of portfolio basically, and then unleash it. And I get that, but I'm speaking only in terms of somebody that knows their stuff. Someone that's fully trained, they got their stuff together, and they can go out in the ring and do it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from. But if he's not there yet, if he hasn't been trained, or he's still in training, or just got out of training and now he's testing waters to see how to wrestle, I would still say use the name. That's me. Force it on the people. I don't like the idea of we're not ready or you have to wait until they're ready for it, because people aren't ready for anything. People hate change. People don't like it. So you got to force it onto them so they accept it. I mean, they forced this crappy indie shit on us. Why can't we force this on them?
But he needs to force it when he's got some weight to throw around. If he's just some little dude fresh out of training, I'm Chris Benoit Jr. Yeah, and that's where you gonna stay.
No, unless he's friends with the Young Bucks and get on the AEW for $100,000 a year.
But yeah, I think he needs, to me, coming out like this and asking this question shows me that he might just be fresh into everything.
Yes.
So I think with that being said, without knowing it, I agree with Jim Cornette. But he could be masked and wrestle all over the fucking world, appeal to audiences that aren't American audiences, build up a hell of a name, if he's good. Now, just because he's got Benoit Jean doesn't mean he's good.
No, it don't.
He could be very poor. But if he's good and he hones his craft to be great, then, he can make that change. He could be like,
they're not going to accept it. Let's say he wrestles under a different name completely and a mask. Mm-hmm. Then he takes the mask off, but he keeps the name, but he's unmasked. Mm-hmm. And they say, yeah, this is the son of Chris Benoit. Then people be like, oh, screw this guy. And it's going to be like, what? But I thought you liked him. I liked him until I knew who he was. That's human That's the human mindset.
Then that means that either way he go, he's going to be fucked.
That's right. That's why I'm like, fuck it, sledgehammer. Because you might as well start off in the shit that you're going to end up in.
But I think the only thing that can override that is being able to bring in money. Wrestling companies will put Mama Storm in the ring if it's going to bring them some fucking money.
Yes. Yeah. Here's the thing. Yeah, okay, what you're saying is true, but that's not how people are working today. It's strange. Because while what you say is true, they'll also be like, okay, Ken Anderson on SmackDown. Awesome. He was the top rated guy there. Let's just kill the moves, okay? Intro, outro, promo. Ken Anderson was up there. Main event guy. Until Triple H decides he didn't want him. He got to the boss's ear at the time. They killed everything about Ken Anderson. Just come out to the ring to your music, wrestle, no promos, go to the back. They killed everything. The fans fell out of love with him, not because they weren't digging him in the ring. They fell out of love with him because it's like, you stop doing what you're doing, you subtly betrayed us and what we love about you.
And here's one more thing we have to consider. The commentators drive the fans.
They drive the TV fans.
Yeah.
Not the fans in the arena. The ones in the arena can't hear them.
This is true. That's even better. So say he did start wrestling under Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit Jr. He wrestled here, he wrestled there. He's a great competitor. He's got tons of maneuvers. That's all you got to fucking say. Don't get into his life story and his history.
That's right. Now a good commentator would definitely do that. And definitely I can hear JR saying, you know, he's the son of the late great Chris Benoit. Don't do that.
Talk about who he's beaten.
Yes.
Talk about that part of his history.
You're right. No, you are absolutely accurate. But they are not going to do that because you gotta. It's jacked up. If you don't expose the cat out of the bag, if you don't talk about the trillion-ton elephant on the country, then people are going to look at your commentary as shit. They're going to be like, you're not bringing it up. Now we're pissed with you. That will turn viewers off because it's so obvious and you're not talking about it. That'll piss a lot of people off. Now, I'm not going to say their viewership would just make a spike drop. No. But they're going to lose a lot of probably key viewers because they're, especially the ones that really hang on to commentary and they rely on commentary to help understand what's going on in the ring and quote unquote backstage. So if JR and currently Taz on AEW, if that's where he somehow went, or Michael Cole and King Lawler and whoever the hell else is on WWE and whoever, if they don't bring it up, people are going to be pissed. They're going to feel slighted. People get offended when nothing happens to them. Imagine if they feel a certain way about something and then it's like, we're just not going to own up to it. We're going to just act like that didn't really exist. They're going to be pissed and they're probably going to tell their friends, don't watch it because this dude is Benoit's son. They didn't even bring it up. They talked about who he beat. They talked about the things that he's done and where he's wrestled. But they're going to sit there and act like this dude don't have a dad that did this. That's going to piss them off.
Why?
Didn't you hear what I said earlier?
Yeah, but okay. His dad did this. Okay. He didn't do it.
They don't care. Yeah, they don't care.
And they can easily be like, oh, Chris Benoit Jr. Oh, okay. People are stupid. And it's like you can't have a crowd that doesn't give a shit what they watch. You can gouge out eyes with glass and they're like, yay! But then they get upset because they don't say who Chris Benoit Jr. is. That's bullshit.
That is what will happen. And then let's say they don't say it and the crowd ain't really thinking about it. Let's say he doesn't even go by Chris Benoit at all or David Benoit. Let's say he go by Eric James Smith Holden or something like that. He comes to the ring. He does his thing. The fans love him, but there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem. Brian Last brought up something, and he said he favors his father in the face.
He does?
Yes.
Strongly?
He said like a young Benoit. So, like Brian Pillman Jr. looks like his dad a good damn bit.
And I get sick of that shit. Okay, his name is Brian Pillman Jr. We know who the fuck he is. You do not have to bring his father up every goddamn match. You do not have to bring up Dusty every time Cody wrestles. You don't have to bring up Dusty every time. We know.
If you don't talk about it, the fans will forget about him. And there are a lot of people I listen to Jim Cornette talk about that I scantly heard here and there when I got into pro wrestling had started its slow death spiral.
But wouldn't you want, as a wrestler, as the son or daughter of a former professional wrestler, wouldn't you want your own spotlight?
Yes. Yes, you would. Nobody knew Dwayne Johnson's father was Rocky Johnson for most of his career. Didn't look it up. No one even cared. Wiki was a thing, but not like that. All right. All you knew was his name was Rocky Maivia. That's it.
Yeah. And then he was The Rock.
Yes. No one thought about his father being Rocky Johnson. There's a lot of Rockies in wrestling.
Yeah, but a thing was not made about it.
Not even they didn't mention it.
No.
His dad, I don't think he was, blackballed by WWE. I don't think so. So he built his legacy outside of the limelight of what his father had. Who, honestly, I think WWE really underutilized, like, a lot of talent. WWE ain't known for actually building people up necessarily. They just bring people who are already built up in and water them down. That's what they're great at. All right, they're professional wrestling's waterfall. It'll just spill on you and wash the stuff off as well as you.
If Rocky Johnson had been a huge, big fucking megastar like Dusty Rhodes, The Rock would never have come to be. Never.
What makes you say that?
Because he'd be little Rocky Johnson.
Forever and a day.
Forever and a day.
He would have been in wrestling, but they'd be trying to get him to fill his father's shoes in the way his father did in an era that doesn't do anything remotely that worked the way his father worked. Therefore, the Rocky Dwayne Johnson would have had to do what he did anyway, make his own thing. And that's what he did. He was unique. What he did was simply pull in there and said, I know what the fans like. They want a talker. They want someone electrifying, attitude, and all this. And he built on that. That's all he did. The Rock was he technically sound? Yes. He knew his stuff and he was clean and polished in the ring. But he wasn't a great wrestler.
He was a great entertainer.
He was an amazing entertainer,
and he
was not by any means a great wrestler.
Every person who gets in professional wrestling wants to be The Rock. They want to be Dwayne Johnson. That's why they're actors now.
Yeah.
That's why. Because he did that shit. And Hulk Hogan tried. Hulk Hogan wanted to be in movies as Hulk Hogan. It's not going to work. The Rock, who became Dwayne Johnson, became an actor where you watch him and you're not watching the Rock.
Wrestler.
You're watching Hobbs. You're watching the gay dude from Be Cool.
You are watching an actor.
Yes.
And they don't get that. They don't get it.
I get into wrestling and I call myself an actor and I get in WWE and then I'll do it. Shoot, John Cena tried. No.
Charlotte Flair at one point started mimicking her father. I don't know how things are now, but she had to live up to her father's name. Never gonna do it.
Exactly. So
Charlotte Flair can't live up to Richard Flair's legacy because that's not the climate. She doesn't. Now, if I had a promotion, easy. I could easily build her legacy up. It would take not much. But WWE and stuff, they are nitpicky. They are very political, just like other promotions. And when you build up one or two to be your main event star, that means everyone else has to be crap. Mm-hmm. And when they lose to someone that's crap, it makes him look bad. You're trying to get that crappy wrestler over to become a potential threat for them so that the title match can be of importance. But you spent most of the time making these wrestlers lose short matches to people that optically you know they shouldn't be able to lose to, going on what you have seen of them. You don't work them right. You don't book them properly. So you've got your top stars, and the only ones they can wrestle that's worth a shit by optics only are other top stars. And if you ain't got but two, well, there you go. You've screwed yourself. And when Charlotte came out with her, I think I saw her in a robe. She looked nice. The ref held the rope open for her and all this. I thought that's great. But I'm like, that. I don't think that's her. And
it's like you're nailing your foot into your parent's shadow.
And
that's it.
Yeah, you're trying to be your parents, but yet get over as yourself, and you can't do that.
You can't do that. And these federations, these companies, they don't help by drilling it down your throat every fucking week. Oh, the son of this person, or the son. Hey, when they first come out, Brian Pillman Jr. is the son of the great Brian Pillman. Okay, it was said.
Maybe the first month up to the pay-per-view, and then after that you can drop it off. You can, I ain't gonna say kill it, but maybe every once a month bring it up, or you know what, save it. You know, bring it up for the first month up to the pay-per-view. Kill it. Let them build up their new rep. Let them do what they got to do and bring it back when they win that major title. And then you say their father or whatnot would be proud.
And leave it the fuck alone. Leave it alone. Let them try to have something of their own.
It's hard. Davey Boy Smith Jr., once you put the name in there, you are then... All I can think about, okay, is the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith.
Yeah.
I see him. I see his son, and I see enough of him.
Yeah.
And I see his son trying to work like him, but not complete. His dad was subtly explosive in the ring. Great body, great height, good moves, carry a match. Do all that, but the truth is, he was kind of buried. Now, Davey Boy Smith Jr. comes out. He's doing his thing, trying to build his legacy under his father's shadow, but he's basically just carrying the mantle. He's not going to be able to do it the way his father did. He's trying to do it the way he wants to do it, but it's going to be hard to escape that shadow because of the name. That's it, the name. But yet, Davey Boy Smith Jr. has his own fan following. They aren't trying to place him in the same light as his father. And that's good. Brian Pillman Jr., there are a lot of things about his dad he might not want to really
emulate.
Yeah, because there was a lot. Brian Pillman, he said some things he shouldn't have said. I don't care what the climate. But he said it. And Brian Pillman Jr. isn't getting over like his father did. They squash him often. When I say squash, I mean they have him lose. He can put on a decent match, but they have him lose. Brian Pillman Jr. does not have what Davey Boy Smith Jr. has. That's his own personality. It ain't out there yet. I don't know what was wrong. I don't know what's really going on. Maybe he's got a couple of footings that he's trying to get under him and it's slipping away. But I don't see a distinct individual personality of him. He's working in factions. He's working with tag teams, but I don't see who he is. When it comes to the future of David Benoit, he doesn't have to go by Junior. He don't. But definitely, I say, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. You are going to try. You are going to, you can wrestle under any other name. You can wrestle under a mask. You can build all this and that up. but it will be on Wiki who your mask name is and yet who you are, and people will boo you anyway. And then you've got actual wrestling people that are not having their heads up their shit tainted asses. They are literally going to look at you and be like, you are the son of one of the best wrestlers I have seen in that ring, and I love you. Automatic. And they're going to cheer. And you got those that are going to jeer just because of what your dad supposedly had done without them thinking past their own damn nose. Therefore, you're going to split the crowd. And at that moment, you need to be a face, not a heel. Important.
You have to be a face forever.
You
can never be a heel.
He could be a heel, and you're going to have to work it. But not just, if you know, he will never hear this. He will never hear this. But maybe it'd be good advice for anyone else that might be wanting to do something. But if you're going to become a heel and you are in the legacy shadow of something like this, and you become a heel, don't use the legacy. Do not say some stupid promo crap.
I'll murder you too.
Yes. Don't do that.
The only thing that David needs to do is this. I'm guessing that he is probably the only person alive, other than Chris Benoit's father, if he's still living, that knew Chris Benoit and knew what he would want, and maybe had some insight into what he thought and felt. So David needs to think, with everything having gone down the way that it did, what would my father want for me? That's the question he's to ask himself and answer. Then he can proceed. Everything else is a hill of beans. Everything else is pointless and meaningless. If he does that and comes to a conclusion that he can live with and moves forward, then there you go.
Conviction. Your actions convey your conviction, and your conviction must be part of your action. A circular loop of integrity that no one should be able to break, and honor it perfectly no matter what. Don't hold back. Don't do nothing like that. Do the right thing at every turn, because you cannot wrestle under a moniker like this by any means and go out into the world, because all of a sudden you might get some good shit going and then you start doing stupid stuff. Mm-hmm. Because it's gonna be worse. And it sucks, because there are people out there that got CTE and they are slowly becoming not them. Slowly becoming not them, and no one will see it. You're not in someone's head all the time. You don't know their personal social compass and how they view things. So when they're developing this, you don't know what's changing in their head, and no one has those conversations where you actually get to know someone. No one gets to talk to you so you can actually truly get to know them, because everyone's so guarded and secretive. So it's good to take that stuff into account when you talk about Chris Benoit, because I'll always remember Chris Benoit positively, because I do know, and I mean, this is knowledge. I mean, knowing it like 1 + 1, this is knowledge. I know that if he didn't have CTE, he would still be here. If he didn't have CTE, Nancy would be here. Look, let me touch on this real quick. Everyone out there that wants to, try to be on this high moral ground. Everyone talks about Chris Brown. I'm mad, what he did to Nancy. New Jack said that. Fuck him. What he did to Nancy. Then everyone knows, he killed Nancy. That's what you're worried about. You ain't worried that he killed himself. No, what he did to Nancy is what's on your damn brain. And it's not often you hear about, well, he killed his kids. That ain't, no, they're worried about, because Nancy was a wrestler. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else ain't worth shit.
Nobody else is worth a damn. And you just use his kids to add to the fuel of your stupidity. And yeah, you're dumb as shit. I don't blame Benoit. I blame the CTE. Yes. Was it in there? Yes. But you know what? When he was concussed and he was jacked up, no one cared about mental health. No one got him checked out to see what's going on. They just wanted to keep making money off of him. You should be mad at those that saw a paycheck and not a human being. That's who you need to be mad at. You need to look in the mirror and be mad at yourself if you keep using Nancy and the kids. Actually use Nancy to be pissed with Benoit and then use the kids to help fuel that. Because you're using them just as much as a tool as the company that used Benoit as a cash cow. It's just as bad. And it sucks because Benoit is dead and gone. His suffering is over. Nancy doesn't have to live with everyone always badgering her about what really happened, what went down, how did you feel, how are things now, and all this stupid shit for the rest of her days. Or his kids having to go through the same thing, and when they go to school,
being ostracized,
which I know David probably had to go through.
Definitely.
No one thinks about the human being. They just care about that they're angry. They care about he died, he killed himself, and all that, but they don't think about this is a human being that had a brain condition. That's what's messed up. And so I have venom towards all those people, not Benoit. Because you can't go from being a good person, caring about family and your friends, to the point where you house those that's got nothing, where you give money to those that have gone broke, and all of a sudden, you know what? I'm just going to kill myself and my whole family because I just felt like it today. No, he been lost who he was. And nobody cares to think about that. And that's sad. That's pathetic. And that's bullshit. And shame on every single one of them. David Benoit, in my mind, socially, I would agree with Cornette, but then that shows to me weakness. And it allows everyone to bury things without having to face anything. But if you come out as Chris Benoit Jr. and you're fully trained, you know what you're doing, you got your shit down, lose your first few matches, but you force onto everyone, hey, yeah, I am wrestling under Junior because I am his son. I love him. I favor him. I remember all the good and great things. Fuck y'all. I'm wrestling because I honor my father. No one else. How many people get to go out there and honor their family? They've got the ability to do it, but do they do it? You know, some say my father was a carpenter or a mason, so I am one too. Great. Then you should understand what the fuck he's going through. You should really understand. And if you don't, and you say, yeah, but, then you are not part of this conversation. Because I have no time for yeah, buts. I'd rather hear your thoughts. Honest ones. Not forced because of what you think others think of you or how you think society should feel. No, think about it. Use your brain. You got one. You can't call yourself an individual if you're only going to argue on behalf of what everyone else says you should argue on. I'm not worried about saving face. I ain't worried about that. I'm worried about being honest. Because that's all you got. When you go out this world, when you're dead, you leave behind your words, your actions, your attitude. And that's what people will remember you by until they're all gone and no one remembers you. Just think about that. That's very important. And he wants to validate his father's positive existence, then I support it. Because yes, it'd be good to take a nice scalpel and do this surgically and stuff like that. But that ain't how people function. And since they don't function that way, you might as well go in there with a sledgehammer. Yeah, you got a broken bone, but trust me, this mallet's going to fix all that shit. That's really all you got. You got to steamroll it. You got to force it down their throats. Let them hate you. Let them boo you. Do that. You don't give up your honor for nobody. And you keep wrestling. Win, lose, you keep wrestling. You put your all into it. Never give up. Never back down. And ultimately, they will come around. Ultimately, that is the truth. It will. If Hulk Hogan can go in and ruin two companies, be a jackwad in NWO where the people got to the point they was throwing paper and stuff at him, throwing bottles. They were angry at what the NWO was doing. But you know what happened? It went from people doing that because they hated him to doing it because it just became a thing to do. People will hate you because it's a thing to do. And that's why they can always be changed. That's why. Because people don't have the integrity, but you do. And you hold on to yours, no matter what they do or say. That's my suggestion. Do you have anything else?
Nope.
For those listening, please, hey, comment, like, share, and whatnot. You know. And if you're gonna leave a comment, make sure you know what you're talking about. You know, don't come at me and don't know anything. You know, but if you got just something to say, like Taylor Jones do, then go ahead. You know, I may not agree with everything he say, but at least he's thoughtful when he's saying it. I don't bite. Not really. It just depends. But we're going to get out of here because we got to watch NWA's Hard Times. Hard Times. They really could have found a better hyper song than that. That's just... Anyway, it's been Cedric Kennedy and Cedra Owens for CR Wrestling commentary on David Benoit wanting to wrestle as Chris Benoit Jr. Thank you for listening.